Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I will showcase the Holiday Ops 25-26 lootbox tanks. Let's go! So in this video I will show you all the top tier tanks that are currently in the super test, and then I will give you my prediction of the tanks that we will see during Holiday Ops 25-26. Of course, it is only a prediction. However, if you take a closer look, I think you can make a pretty good guess. So which tanks are currently tested and which ones will we see as a loot box tank during Holiday Ops 25-26? Let's start off with all the top tier tanks. So let's start with the tanks, and yes, I said I only want to present the top tier tanks. However, there's one mid tier tank that I want to present because I think that this tank, once it hits the live server, will be super fun to play, and that is the Cromwell Applique or Applique. This will be a tier 5 medium tank, so basically nothing but the Cromwell on tier 5, maybe with a bit worse gun. But the Cromwell is very fun to play due to its mobility and its flexibility on the battlefield, and so I want to present this tank. Looks like this tank is not as fast though as the regular Cromwell on tier 6. The DPM is phenomenal, and then the gun handling is, yeah, I would say even worse than compared to the regular Cromwell on tier 6. As you can see, horrible dispersion factors while on the move. So yeah, maybe the experience of this tank will not quite hit the tier 6 tank ones. All right, so this is how the tank will look like. Basically, looks like the regular tier 5 tank of the British tech tree. But anyway, I wanted to showcase this tank as well, and let's now start with the tier 8 tanks, and the first one is the American Chrysler MTC 2TC. So this tank is right now in the super test, and looks like this is kind of a, I would say, a typical hull down medium tank. Okay, DPM on the lower side when it comes to mobility, and then relatively nice gun handling. But the strong part of this tank will be the armor profile. So this is how the tank actually looks like. As you can see, relatively large turret, but overall the tank is relatively small when it comes to the size. And then if you use your gun depression, as you can see, the turret is pretty strong, but you have a cupola right here, which is easy to hit. But if you use your gun depression, then yeah, it almost disappears. So basically a pretty strong hull down tank if you ask me. And we can take a look at the stats real quick and see that the camo value is also pretty nice. So overall a pretty solid tank in my opinion. The next tank on the super test is the Kanonenjagdpanzer 2, so a German tier 8 tank destroyer. And this tank has a special mechanic, which is a siege mode. So this is basically a German Stridsyxa, but on tier 8. As you can see, it has a superb DPM, but you have to think of the two modes that you will be using. So if you enter siege mode, then your mobility decreases rapidly, but your gun handling becomes oh so much better. As you can see, this dispersion factors 0.01. This is insanely strong. So we'll see how that one goes. I'm not quite sure whether the DPM stays the same no matter whether you are in the travel mode or in the siege mode. We'll just have to find out once this tank hits the live server. Good mobility if you are in travel mode, and then view range is a little bit lackluster. However, the camo value is pretty decent. So this is how the tank looks like, and yes, this is a mistake of the current tanks.gg webpage. So yeah, but this tank has no armor, as you can see, no armor whatsoever. Siege mode, and then as you just saw, a phenomenal gun handling while using the siege mode, just for you to prove once again, no armor whatsoever. All right, the next tank is the BZ74, a tier 8 Chinese heavy tank. with no special mechanic whatsoever. A pretty, yeah, normal, regular, rock solid heavy tank. As you can see, an okay DPM, maybe a bit lackluster dispersion. Gun handling, at least dispersion factors, are actually pretty nice for a heavy tank, but nothing out of the ordinary as well. Mobility is on the good side. 50 top speed and 15 power to weight ratio is actually pretty good. And then no camo, lackluster view range. So yeah, a pretty regular tank if you ask me. This is how the tank looks like. And by the way, one step back, this tank does have, does have 9 degrees of gun depression. So you can work a ridgeline with this tank. Otherwise it looks kind of modern to me, but a pretty regular tank as I just said. And yeah, this is how it looks like. The strong part of this tank is if you use your 9 degrees of gun depression, not only do you manage to hide most parts of your cupola, but then also the upper hull becomes pretty strong. Maybe comparable to the tier 9 Italian heavy tank, the Projet Louis 66, I believe. So yeah, you have to play this tank hull down. The next tank is the Swedish tier 8 medium tank, the Stridsyxa or Stridsyxa, however you pronounce this one. This is once again a tank without any special mechanic, so a relatively normal regular medium tank. Good TBM, good alpha damage, good gun handling, okay mobility, good camo value actually, and also good view range. So actually this looks like the hidden gem out of all those super test tanks. It looks kind of weird because the gun is not in the middle of the turret, as you can see, plus the upper portion of the hull is also not symmetrical, so pretty weird looking tank, but it looks kind of cool in my opinion. And of course this tank also wants to be played hull down. If we take a look at the armor, the cupola is actually pretty small, I would say relatively small, and then the turret is rather strong. Now take a look at what happens if you use your gun depression. Wow, this becomes a very strong tank, of course with some weak spots right here, but I mean if you wiggle around a bit they are pretty tough to hit, and the rest of the turret is rather strong. And let's make a little comparison between this tank and then the KPZ-50T. And if you are playing the KPZ-50T, then you know how strong this tank is on tier 9. It is one of the best tanks tier for tier on tier 9 in my opinion. And so let's compare those two tanks. So DPM just a tiny touch worse, of course penetration value worse, but I mean keep in mind this is a tier 8 tank and this is a tier 9 tank. Now the damage is actually higher on this tank compared to the KPZ-50T. Of course shell velocity on the lower side, but I think like they are comparable when it comes to firepower if you take into consideration this is one tier lower than the KPZ-50T. Now gun handling, actually comparable, yes, worse aim time, slightly worse dispersion, but the dispersion factors while on the move and while, you know, moving your turret and your tank are actually better. So I would say rather comparable gun handling for those two tanks. Then mobility, once again slightly worse on this tank, but if you take a look, if you consider the different tiers, then also comparable. Armor wise also comparable, and then it even has the better camo value. So with this tank you can even play, you can even work or play vision games better than compared to the KPZ-50T, and the KPZ-50T is actually not too bad within this regard. So in my opinion this tank is ultra strong, and why it does not have any special mechanic whatsoever, this will be in my opinion the hidden gem on tier 8 once it hits the live server. Alright, the next tank will be the Jezevec. I hope this is pronounced correctly. The Jezevec will be a tier 8 Czechoslovakian medium tank, and it has a special mechanic, and this is its 6-shot or 6-shell autoloader gun. And yeah, I think it's an autoloader, not an auto reloader, but we will see once it hits the live server. It looks kind of cool because I think it looks a bit comparable to the Hirschkäfer on tier 11, So very small turret with this autoloader mechanic. You know, the frontal portion is not very wide, although this tank does not have any armor whatsoever. So some funky bounce angles. So maybe you will here and there bounce some shots if you try to shoot at this tank. But I mean, if you hide this portion of the tank and if you only expose this, basically the gun, the turret, then it will be pretty damn tough to hit. So yeah, maybe a hull down warrior as well. Back to the stats, and you can see the damage is lackluster. However, you have 6 shells. The intra-clip reload is rather high, so I believe difficult to play, but we will see. Very interesting, at least, with yeah, an interesting mechanic. Or I mean, the mechanic is basically standard, but the combination of mechanic and also alpha damage and clip size is rather interesting. Besides that, good mobility, okay camo, okay view range, nothing out of the ordinary, but it's the mechanic which is interesting for this tank. So the next tank is the Taurus CAT, a British tier 8 tank destroyer with actually 2 mechanics, one of which is an auto reloader. As you can see, it has 4 shells in its magazine, 2 seconds intra-clip reload, and then it also has the siege mode, so basically a Stridsyxa with an autoloader gun, and I believe it's an auto reloader gun. So okay, right now looks like tanks.gg is unable to show us the difference of those 2 modes, so the travel mode and also then the firepower mode, if you will, which is fine, but overall this tank looks like it has horrible gun handling, but maybe in the siege mode this the firepower and the dispersion values will improve. Besides that, pretty strong camo and then lackluster view range but good mobility. This tank does not have any armor. This is how it looks like, with a huge cupola on top as it appears. Yeah, super easy to hit. This is how it looks like. Basically a British Stridsyxa, once again with an auto reloading gun. And then if you take a look at the armor, oh, it's actually pretty strong. I mean, apart from the little tank on top, right? So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. I mean, this does not mean anything if the adversaries can just hit this huge cupola. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. If this stays as it is right now in the super test, then yeah, good luck with this tank. Alright, the next tank is this one right here. So a tier 9 Soviet tank destroyer, the Su-122V. It's currently not on tanks.gg. So 440 alpha damage, good penetration value in my opinion, shell velocity on the downside, and there's nothing written about a siege mode, although maybe we will see it on this tank. If not, then yeah, a regular TD. Looks like very tiny cupolas, so maybe good armor, tough to actually penetrate from the front. So we'll see how that one goes. Looks like okay mobility, and then yeah, hull armor 80, but super nicely sloped. So we'll see. We'll just see. View range is lackluster. Yeah, we'll see how this tank performs once it hits the live server. The next tank is a Czechoslovakian tier 9 medium tank, the VZ62 Jasan, or Jasan, however you want to pronounce it. This tank's mechanic is an autoloader. Once again, Wargaming is testing quite a huge number of tanks with autoloaders. This is basically comparable to the regular Tech Tree tier 9 and tier 10 tanks, so a 4-clip autoloader with a very short intra-clip reload, only 1.5 seconds, and then good gun handling. The dispersion factors are lackluster. I believe this is the same on the Tech Tree tanks. Good DPM, relatively short reload time of the whole clip, 300 alpha damage, and then okay mobility, Good view range, slightly lackluster camo, so basically comparable to the Tech 2 tanks. This is how it looks. And by the way, let's go to the stats. It has 8 degrees of gun depression, so it is relatively flexible. But if you take a look at the armor, you can see, yeah, no armor whatsoever. Maybe some bounce angles right here on the sides, but yeah, nothing too crazy. This tank has practically no armor whatsoever. Maybe you can bait some shots with the upper hull if you peek out of cover like this, but besides this, no cover. Sorry, no armor. But in my opinion, a very interesting tank because I really like the tier 9 and also the tier 10 Czechoslovakian Tech 3 tanks. All right, the next tank is the TBT, a Czechoslovakian premium heavy tank on tier 9, and this tank once again has an autoloader gun with the clip size of 2, with 3 seconds intra clip reload and a very high alpha damage. So basically like the Skoda T56, but on tier 9. Dispersion is lackluster, gun handling is lackluster, mobility is, yeah, okay. It's rather slow, but I mean, okay for a heavy tank. 7 degrees of gun depression, 380 meters of view range is okay, nothing out of the ordinary. And then, yeah, of course, armor good on the turret, maybe good on the hull, at least if you work this tank on a ridgeline. This is how it looks like. So pretty standard. No large cupola. So let's take a look at the live model. Yeah, as you can see, super strong turret. And then if you use your gun depression, this appears to be a hull down monster. Wow. Hull down monster on tier 9 autoloader, 2 times 490 alpha damage. Good luck playing against this tank on a ridgeline. So yeah, pretty strong in my opinion. Alright, the next tank is, yeah, an iconic tank, the Jagdpanzer E90, a German tier 9 tank destroyer. Basically a Jagdpanzer E100, but on tier 9. Strong DPM, superb alpha damage, 750 on tier 9. Good gun handling for this high alpha damage. Good dispersion factors while on the move and while turning the turret, and not the turret, but the tank. Of course, very slow. 9 degrees of gun depression, so super flexible. And then the armor is not what you would expect, but maybe comparable to the tier 10 actually. And then lackluster view range, of course, no camo. So let's see how it looks like. Yeah, super interesting tank in my opinion. I believe once this hits the live server, everybody wants to have this tank. Let's take a look at the armor profile. As you can see, armor is lackluster. I mean, it is 290 to 270, so actually pretty good. However, not against tank destroyers. Plus, with 2 huge cupolas, which are actually not too easy to penetrate, at least for tier 8 tanks. Take a look at this, 250, 240, and then 240 down to, what is it, 239. But if you use your gun depression on a ridgeline, yeah, take a look at this. Wow. Okay, this changes everything beyond 330, 340. So yeah, I think this tank will be fun to play once it hits the live server. All right, next tank is the Projet Louis or Projet Louis. A French tier 9 light tank comparable to the AMX 1357. So with an autoloader, 8 shells in the clip and only 1 second intra clip reload. 125 damage, so very low, but as I said, comparable to this tier 7 French light tank. And so you can deal 1000 damage within only 7 seconds. Of course, gun handling is not the best one, but okay for this tank. Good mobility, 9 degrees of gun depression, so very flexible tank. Lackluster camo value, although not too bad. And then view range is also on the downside. If we take a look at the model, yep, this is how the tank looks like. Quite an interesting 3D model, if you ask me. And then, of course, armor-wise, I mean, it's a light tank, but maybe some nice ricochet angle here. Let's take a look at the gun depression. Yeah, I mean, it kind of disappears. So yeah, you can work a ridgeline with this tank, but maybe only because your turret is so small actually. A very interesting tank once it hits live server, once again comparable to the AMX 1357, and I really like to play this tank, and I would love to see this tank on tier 9. The next tank is also a tier 9 light tank. It's currently in the game as a reward tank, but this might change once it hits live server. It's an American tier 9 light tank, the LTC2, and this is basically comparable to the Projet Louis, maybe comparable to the you know, old school what is it, tier 8 American light tank, the M41 Bulldog, because this tank also has an autoloader gun with a 2-second intra-clip reload, 1.92 seconds aim time, so with 200 damage, so you can deal 2000 damage but within 18 seconds, so it takes quite a long time to empty your clip, but this might be super fun to play. Good gun handling, 10 degrees of gun depression, good mobility, really lackluster camo, but good view range, as we know of all the American light tanks. So let's take a look at the model. Also pretty interesting, however, more conventional compared to the Projet Louis. And once again, if we hit this button, then yeah, some ricochet angles, but no armor whatsoever. Looks like this has a little problem with gun depression, you know, on the edges of the hull. So yeah, whereas the depression is 10 degrees, on the edges of the tank it's only 6 degrees, so interesting to play, and then at the rear it's only 8. Yeah, interesting, very interesting, but I think also a very interesting tank once it hits the live server. The next tank is the SPHT, an American tier 9 premium heavy tank. Very cool looking. Let's start off with the 3D model. Very modern looking tank with, yeah, just modern looking with, if we take a look at the armor profile, oh sorry, here it is with, yeah, not too much armor. As you can see, only 250 here. The angle is, you know, not too bouncy. And then maybe on the sides you can bounce some shots, but if you use your gun depression, then the armor becomes stronger, but you have this huge cupola on top. Once again, which is not too easy to pen with 249-ish, 246, 47. And then, yeah, this shape of the upper hull looks pretty interesting, and maybe this is to fight players which use auto aim excessively. So let's take a look at the stats. This tank does not have any mechanic, which is good to see, apart from the tons of autoloaders which are currently tested. Good DPM, 400 alpha damage, okay gun handling, nothing out of the ordinary. Good mobility, 19 power to weight ratio, actually pretty strong. 45 is also good. 8 degrees of gun depression, and then 390 meters of view range is also pretty strong. And then we just talked about the armor. So yeah, a regular tier 9 American heavy tank. The next one is the FV225, a British tier 9 premium heavy tank. This is kind of the Conqueror on tier 9. Okay DPM, 370 alpha damage, good gun handling, slow tank, although yeah, I would say okay. 37 and 17 is actually okay for a heavy tank. 10 degrees of gun depression, and then 400 meters of view range is also pretty good. And as you can see, this is first of all the tank, so pretty much a Conqueror on tier 9. And if we take a look at the armor model, then as you can see, basically comparable to the Conqueror on tier 9. Nothing to add. And if you use your gun depression, then it's a Ridgeline Warrior. So good luck fighting this vehicle. So yeah, might be on the strong side if you ask me, and most likely also pretty fun to play. The next tank in the super test currently is the Yong Bing, a Chinese tier 9 heavy tank, and this one does not only have one mechanic, it has 2 special mechanics, one of which is easily recognizable, is the double barrel gun. this tank will most likely have the same gun mechanic as the Russian heavy tanks. So for example, the ST2 and the IS-32. But then besides this tank also has rocket boosters. So let's take a look at the stats. Okay DPM, good alpha damage, and then horrible gun handling. Not horrible, but I mean certainly on the worst side. The aim time is horrible. Mobility is lackluster, but you have your rocket boosters available. You can use them 10 times, which makes this tank pretty flexible, at least when it comes to the rocket boosters. 8 degrees of gun depression, so pretty flexible, and you can work a ridgeline. 380 meters view range is okay, and then 300 millimeters of turret armor is pretty strong. But let's take a look at the armor profile, and as you can see, this tank has huge cupolas that are relatively easy to hit. Besides that, the armor is super strong. So let's use the gun depression, and then as you can see, you can still easily hit the cupola. So not a tank which is good for, you know, close combat, but other than that, the armor is pretty strong. Also good for side scraping, by the way. So a very interesting tank that we have to keep in mind for Holiday Ops 25-26. The next tank is also a very interesting tank, and it is the tier 9 Italian medium tank, the Serpente. I don't know if this is pronounced correctly, but a medium tank with a double barrel gun, as you can see, and with the same mechanic as the SPHT, the tier 8 French tank destroyer. So if you use your double shot, then the gun becomes more precise. Take a look at this. In the regular mode, the gun handling is lackluster, certainly. 0.36 is good. Aim time 2.49 is lackluster, and 0.24 dispersion factors are pretty damn bad. I mean, this is like one of the worst heavy tanks values, but this tank is meant to do a double shot just like the SVAC. And then I think this is a mistake. I think it will be much improved compared to this. So we'll see how it goes. Sometimes tanks.gg does have some errors on the webpage. So we'll see how it goes. But this tank is, as I said, an SVAC, but on tier 9, and it is a medium tank. It has okay mobility for medium tank, 10 degrees of gun depression, and also the camo value is not too bad. Nothing out of the ordinary, but you can definitely work with shy of 15 stationary camo, and 390 meters of view range is also pretty good. Now this is how the tank looks like. Well, it might be, you know, a very sneaky damage dealer. This is maybe the playstyle of this tank. Of course, if we take a look at the armor profile, then yeah, no armor whatsoever, but a very interesting tank. The next one is the Saryuda, a tier 9 Japanese tank destroyer, and it is maybe comparable to the T-30, the American tier 9 tank destroyer. Good DPM, good alpha damage. Once again, the mechanic of this tank is a double barrel gun, so you can deal 1000 damage with your two guns. 0.35 dispersion, 0.18, so gun handling is actually on the good side. It's of course rather slow, but not too slow. 16 power to weight ratio is also fine. 7 degrees of gun depression, then 380 meters of view range, of course no camo, and then 250 turret armor and 230 hull armor is actually not too bad. So let's take a look at the armor profile. This is how the tank looks like. As you can see, the frontal plates are, not armored, not angled at all, maybe ever so slightly. So I think this will limit this tank. And if we take a look at the armor profile, yes, exactly right. So 247 effective armor is, not too great for this tank. So it will be easily pennable by, let's say, above average standard ammunition on tier 9, and also of course premium ammunition on tier 9. But you can deal 1000 damage, so also a very interesting tank to play in my opinion. Just a tiny touch better than compared to the T-30 on tier 9. Next tank is the tier 10 German heavy tank, the Schwertwal. A tank which also has a pretty interesting mechanic, because this tank, as you can see on the next picture, does have rocket boosters right here. And so once again, a very slow tank, but with rocket boosters, this tank is actually pretty flexible. 2.6k DPM is pretty damn awesome for 700 alpha. Gun handling is of course lackluster, but you want to play close combat with this tank. The standard mobility is very poor, only 12 power to weight ratio, but you have your rocket boosters. You only have 4 though, and they will last for 20 seconds. So, you know, among the rocket booster tanks, this one is the least flexible. However, if you can escape from a flank with such a tank, then this is a, you know, a strength on its own. It has 8 degrees of gun depression, so also very flexible. Of course, no camo, and then 390 meters of view range is fine. Armor, yeah, let's take a look at the armor profile. I think the armor profile is pretty strong. It also doesn't have a huge cupola, so let's take a look at the live model. Yeah, as you can see, this tank is rock solid when it comes to armor. I mean, look at this. An insanely strong gunman at 740. So good luck penning this tank. Even a Jagdpanzer E100 will have problems. And then the frontal hull is also super strong. Those are the weak spots here, and I mean, like, we are talking about a 245mm weak spot, so good luck. Yeah, and if you use your gun depression, then yeah, good luck penetrating this tank. You know, when I saw this tank, I had the impression that Wargaming is tricking us with a tier 11 tank, which is presented as a tier 10 reward tank right now in the game. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it has a special mechanic, so this is this differentiates this tank to all the other German tech trees so far, but we'll see how it goes. Next tank is the BZT-70, a Chinese tier 10 heavy tank. A bit like the T-95, the American tank on tier 9. However, this is a heavy tank. It's not a tank destroyer, it's a heavy tank with a fully rotatable turret, but it has basically the same values. So okay DPM, insanely strong, 850 alpha, horrible gun handling, super slow, super strong armor, okay view range, and no camo, 8 degrees of gun depression. So if we take a look at the armor profile, you can see, yeah, it's basically comparable to the T-95. The armor is in general ultra strong. However, you have some weak spots, and they are tall. This huge cupola and this cupola will be easy to hit. So I think this tank will all in all be not very fun to play because of those gigantic weak spots, but we'll see how it goes once it hits the live server. Next tank is the FV225 Collector, a double barrel tier 10 British heavy tank with insanely strong DPM, lackluster alpha damage, good gun handling, okay mobility for a heavy tank, only 6 degrees of gun depression, and good view range. So let's take a look at the armor profile. First of all, this is how the tank looks like. Pretty small turret, you know, not very tall, and then huge hull. So if we take a look at the armor profile, you can see, yeah, super strong, very small cupola, and then this is the weak spot. But I mean, if we take into consideration the gun depression, then it looks like this tank has a little weak spot here at the turret ring, but besides that, super strong hull down warrior. And yeah, I think interesting to play. I mean, not the best tank because we are living in an alpha damage meta, in my opinion, but yeah, interesting. Right, next tank is the WZ64GC Bzyg, however you pronounce this one, a tier 10 Polish heavy tank. And let's first of all take a look at the 3D model, because as you can see, it has the same mechanic as the Polish tank destroyers. So a specially rifled gun with higher alpha damage if you're closer in. This is how it looks like. Pretty cool, if you ask me. And then when it comes to the statistics, this tank has an insanely strong DPM, but I believe only if you are fighting close range. Gun handling is lackluster, so you want to fight close range with this tank. Mobility is okay, nothing out of the ordinary, 70 degrees of gun depression. Okay, view range, and then, yeah, let's take a look at the armor profile. So, this tank is pretty strong. I mean, take a look at this. 330 on the hull and also on the turret. So, yeah, this is meant to fight close range with other tanks. Pretty strong tank. And then, with this insane alpha damage of 800 at 50 meters, you can, yeah, you have a rock solid hull down warrior, apart from apart from sniping or apart from fighting at higher ranges. Okay, the next tank is the Ashigaru. This tank is not included in Tanks GG right now, but this tank is a tier 10 Japanese medium tank, a wheeled medium tank. So this is the special mechanic. Plus, it has this particular Japanese gun cooling mechanic. Very interesting. It's not the fastest tank, as you can see. It does not have any armor. It has a pretty strong camo value, slightly lackluster view range, but standard alpha damage, good penetration values, good shell velocity, and then if you cool your gun down, a super precise gun with 10 degrees of gun depression. So I cannot wait to play this tank. A pretty interesting one. Next tank is the Coccodrillo. I saw this one already on the live server being tested. It is a tier 10 Italian medium tank. A bit like the Progetto and also the this 45T kind of reward tank of the Italians, with good DPM, good alpha damage, yeah, good penetration value. Gun handling is also, yeah, it is okay. It has a 3-shell auto reloading gun with an intra-clip reload of 5 seconds. So basically like the Italian reward tank. And this is basically the special mechanic of this tank. It has 400 meters of view range, okay stationary camo. It has 8 degrees of gun depression. So yeah, actually a pretty solid tank. And as you can see, the armor profile is lackluster. However, if you, and this is how the tank looks, yeah, pretty, I don't know, pretty funky, pretty interesting. If you use your gun depression, then this armor actually becomes pretty bouncy. Yeah, take a look at this. So this tank once again wants to be played on a ridgeline. The turret itself is pretty bouncy at the sides. Here it is, yeah, weaker, but I would consider this to be in general super strong. And if you play this tank on a ridgeline, then yeah, good luck with this tank. So Coccodrillo, pretty interesting tank. Then Wargaming has just recently added some more tanks. So first of all, another tier 8 French tank destroyer, the Lorraine 120 ALBY. I don't know how to pronounce this in French. But this tank features a pretty interesting autoloader gun with 4 shells in the magazine. 4 times 400 means 1600 damage within only a couple of seconds. Intra-clip reload is 2.5 seconds, but then the whole reload is 40 seconds, so pretty long. 7 degrees of gun depression, plus minus 30 degrees of turret reverse angle, which is relatively strong. Mobility is on the good side. I mean, shy of 19 power to weight ratio is pretty damn solid. And then also, I mean, I don't know, I'm not quite sure about those numbers, but looks like this what is it, turret ring with which you can turn the gun seems to be pretty strong, 250, and then the rest is 180, but it's nicely angled. So looks like the armor profile of this tank is super strong, but the downside is, yeah, you have another tank on top of your tank, so an easily hittable cupola, just like we know with the other French tanks. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Next tank is the tier 9 Japanese medium tank, the Kame, I don't know. Looks like the the armor is not shaped nicely and with only 200 millimeters, so this can be relatively easily penetrated. The hull only has 100 millimeter of armor, so this tank doesn't have too much armor. It has once again an autoloader gun, and it also has the gun cooling mechanic. As you can see here, the reload time is only 1.7 seconds in general, but the gun handling is horrific with 0.6 dispersion at 100 meters. So this is a Cobra tank, but with a way worse gun handling. But if you use the gun cooling mechanic, and if you wait for a couple of seconds after each shot, then you get a much more precise gun, sorry. But then the intra-clip reload is not as fast. So yeah, very interesting mechanic. Apart from that, 7 degrees of gun depression, which is fine. The camo value is lackluster, so this is not a sneaky tank. And then okay, view range. So yeah, like the Cobra on tier 9. Cobra is a tier 9 tank. So like the Cobra on tier 9, but with an interesting mechanic. And I like to see this one because yes, you can get better gun handling, but then another advantage disappears, which I kind of like. If you have to make those kind of trade-offs. All right, next tank is the tier 9 KB52. Although I think this is this will be a KV if it hits the live server. It looks like this tank has the turret of the Object 752 with an oscillating turret. Looks like relatively strong frontal portion with 260 millimeters of armor. But then 2 large cupolas, just like we see on the current Object 752. This thing also features an autoloader gun with 3 shells, 3.2 seconds intra-clip reload, and then 24 seconds of reload. Lackluster penetration value, lackluster alpha damage, 8 degrees of gun depression, good camo value, good view range, so a more sneaky tank with, you know, some drawbacks when it comes to firepower, although it is an autoloader tank, which is a strength of its own. And the last tank that is currently seen is the tier 9 French heavy tank, the Terrifiant, I believe, pronounced in French. You know, a very regular heavy tank with 490 alpha damage, 246 standard penetration, which is fine. Shell velocity looks to be disappointing, with good gun handling, 10 degrees of gun depression, okay mobility, top speed is lackluster, but the rest is fine. Good turret armor, and as you can see, the turret is nicely shaped. Looks like the cupola is not too large, with okay view range, so basically a very regular heavy tank on tier 9. So the question now is, which tanks will we see during Holiday Ops 25-26? And of course, this is a prediction that I'm giving you right now. It can be completely wrong, but I believe there's some evidence for it, or not evidence, but there's some, you know, some logical cues that that let us make a certain prediction. So to begin with, I think the tanks that have just recently been added to the super test will not be seen during Holiday Ops 2025. So this tank not this one as well, not this one, and also not this one. So which tanks will it be? Well, of course not the Cromwell will be seen, but it's not a top tier tank. So in my opinion, we will not see, you know, the most interesting tanks yet during the Holiday Ops event, because Wargaming needs to preserve a couple of tanks for, you know, some special events like the auction, for example, events in which they can make or in which they can you know, get rid of tons of gold and also real world money out of the player base. So in my opinion, they will use tanks which are not too interesting, i.e. not tier 10 tanks, because tier 10 premium tanks will be new to the game, and in my opinion, Wargaming will not sell them during the Holiday Ops event. They will make special events at the beginning of 26 to sell or to offer tier 10 premium tanks. So this will mean that we will not see the Coccodrillo, we will also not see the Ashigaru, we will also not see the WZ, the Polish one, we will not see this one here, and also not the, well actually, yeah, we'll also not see this one here, and also not the Schwertwal, so we can get rid of those two tanks. Yeah, so that's what I believe will be the case. And then, so those tanks remaining are tier 8 tanks and also tier 9 tanks, and in my opinion we will see about 2 tier 8 tanks and about 2 tier 9 tanks. Now, which tier 8 tanks will we see during Holiday Ops event? In my opinion, once again, the ones which are at first glance not very interesting, so without any mechanic. Why? Because Wargaming needs to preserve tanks with an interesting mechanic for 2026 for one or another Battle Pass event. Because if the tank is not interesting, then, you know, nobody will play the Battle Pass for an additional tier 8 tank, because all of us have tons of tier 8 tanks so far already in the garage. So, in my opinion, the #1 tank will be the Stridsyxa. This tank will be, in my opinion, the perfect Holiday Ops tank, because it has no mechanic whatsoever, so it's, you know, at first glance rather, you know, mediocre, but as I showed you, it is super strong. So everybody who will, you know, get this tank will not have a tank with a special mechanic, but will have a tank which is super fun to play. So this is my #1 prediction for Holiday Ops 25-26, and let me tell you, I am really looking forward for this tank. You know, with all the tanks which are currently on my list, all tier 8, all tier 9 tanks, I want to have this tank because I adore the KPZ-50T and I really want to get my hands on this tank. It is the best one out of all the tanks that you can get, in my opinion. So, we will have this tank in the Holiday Ops loot boxes. The other tank that we will have, in my opinion, is this one right here, the Yong Bing. And yes, I know this tank is very interesting. It has 2 mechanics. Not only is it a double barrel gun, but it also has the rocket boosters that we talked about. But why do I think that this tank will be in the Holiday boxes? Because in my opinion, this tank appears to be strong. You know, we talked about the armor profile, we talked about the double barrel gun and the alpha damage and so on and so forth. But this tank suffers from its huge cupolas and also from the abysmal mobility and the abysmal gun handling. So it appears to be strong, and I would say yes, it is, you know, good with all the advantages, but it's nothing game breaking, it's nothing out of the ordinary, and it will perform solid to okay, but it will not be above average, or at least it will not be, you know, game breaking, and it will not, you know, set new standards on tier 9. So a tank which is very interesting, but you know, which will not be too strong. And I think those are the tanks that we will see during the Holiday Ops events. This has been the case in the past. We have seen tanks which are good, but which are not game breaking, and then also tanks which are interesting, but you know, nothing too crazy, I would say. And this is why I believe that, for example, tanks like the Serpente will certainly not be in the loot box system, because they are too interesting, they are too special. So we'll see those tanks during other loot box events, you know, ones which are inferior to the Holiday Ops loot box event, because then they, you know, while the loot box event itself is worse, the tanks are more interesting. We've seen that during a loot box event in which you were able to get the KPZ EK1, but we will not see these kind of tanks during the Holiday Ops event 25-26. So we can scratch the Serpente, and then also, for example, the Saryuda, but we'll come to this later. So in my opinion, the prediction so far is the Yong Bing, which is a heavy tank, and then as I said, the Stridsyxa, which is a medium tank. So with those 2 tanks in mind, we have to, you know, see that we already have chosen a medium tank, and a heavy tank, and in my opinion, we will only see one tank of each tank class during the Holiday Ops event. So this means that we still have a TD available, and then maybe a light tank available for the event. So which tank, in my opinion, do I think will be available in the Holiday Ops event? The next tank, in my opinion, will be a tank destroyer. And whereas I would like to see this tank, the Jagdpanzer E90, I think this tank will not be in the loot box system because it is much too iconic, and Wargaming will offer this tank during another event in 2026. So in my opinion, we will see this tank in the loot box system. This tank is also pretty damn interesting with, you know, 2 mechanics, an auto reloading gun, and then also the siege mode. But it will be very lackluster due to this poor cupola, this super tall cupola, which is easy to hit. And so this tank will be, yeah, interesting to play, but also, you know, nothing cosmic, nothing too strong. It will just be average in some situations. It will be interesting. It is a tank destroyer, and so in my opinion, we will see this tank. Why do I not believe that we will see the Kanonenjagdpanzer 2 in the game? Well, because I believe that this tank, as it is right now, is actually too strong, and we will rather see this in some other event in 2026. So my prediction is that we will see the Taurus CAT alongside with the Yong Bing as a heavy tank, and then also the Stridsyxa as a medium tank. And then if we once again consider the tank classes, there's only the light tank class which is left, and we have 2 light tanks in the game. So we will see either the Projet Louis in the loot boxes 25-26, or we will see the LTC2. And I don't know. Both tanks are light tanks, both tanks are very interesting, both tanks are pretty difficult to play, very interesting but also very difficult to play. You know, it's hard to make a prediction. In my opinion, we will see the LTC2 because it is, you know, the more regular tank of those 2 tanks, if you will. And so my prediction is that we will see this tank in the loot boxes 25-26 during Holiday Ops, and we will see the Projet Louis during a Battle Pass event in 2026. So my predictions are this LTC2 as a light tank, tier 8 tank. The other tier 8 tank will be the Stridsyxa, which is kind of below the radar, but which is a KPZ-50T on tier 8. So the #1 tank of all of those tanks that I've just shown you. Then we'll see the Yong Bing, which is super interesting. Good, you know, a good tank, but nothing out of the ordinary. It's not too strong. And then, as I said, as TD, I would go for the Taurus CAT. So this is my prediction, and now please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section and tell me what you think will be the tanks in the loot boxes during Holiday Ops 25-26, and whether you think that my prediction is actually right. Alright guys, that was it for today with the video about my prediction for the loot box tanks that we will see in this year's Holiday Ops event. What do you think about my prediction? Do you have the same opinion, or do you see something differently? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. And as always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up or hype the video. You can hype the video multiple times. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you find this video extremely helpful, then feel free to support me via super thanks. This way you can make a one-time donation. You just have to click this button underneath the video. If you adore this channel and you want to consistently support me, then consider subscribing to my channel or become a member once again with a click of a button underneath the video. Thanks a lot, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.